It's Star Wars Day. May the Fourth be with you, and also with you. I remember like snippets of Star Wars growing up until age about 6 or 7. And my first real kind of memory of it, or being aware of what it was my birthday. One year, my dad's buddy gave me a birthday card, and the front of it was the very famous pose of Han and Chewie on the Death Star right before all the stormtroopers come in. And inside the card, it said, "Hope your cake is nice and chewy," spelled like Chewbacca. And I didn't get it. And that was about the time that they did the first release of the VHSs in the trilogy. In my house, we ended up watching Empire a lot. Or should I say the first hour of Empire, because by the time the first hour was over, the parents had gotten up and we had to start doing stuff. These babies are old. I got this one. This is Mace Windu. This one's classy and gold and silver, and unfortunately does not have bad mother effer etched into it, like Sam Jackson's actual prop saber for the prequels. And then there's Luke's, the one he builds in Jedi. Flashback into the void to about Christmas 2005. And the person I was with at the time was annoyed by the fact that I could guess pretty accurately what a Christmas gift was by the dimensions of it. I wasn't trying to be a smartass or a sneak, I just could figure it out. So she made absolutely sure that I couldn't see my gift until my friends had gotten me upstairs, blindfolded. And then she had me hold my hands out and put the box in my hands, and I was like, I can't really it's a lightsaber. And she was so mad. I was like, oh, I'm super happy that it's a lightsaber. You don't know how tickled that makes me. So as for the big dopey cloak, if the hem work doesn't give it away, I actually stitched this myself. Went to a Michael's, got the stencils, got the material, borrowed my mom's old sewing machine, which I still have as it is now, my sewing machine. And I had the whole under costume too, like the Jedi outfit, something you could throw over a sleevey white shirt, like a pirate shirt or something. I actually borrowed my dad's guitar belt to work as a Jedi belt because it just had the right look to it. That part of the costume didn't survive, but the cloak has. It is an excellent cozy winter blanket. I don't actually own any Star Wars shirts. I thought I did. I couldn't find it. So this is just a cognitive dissonance you're going to have to live with. The only other Star Warsy toy I have is this little Rey on her speeder Lego. My nephew has a little Dio that rolls around on the floor and squeaks. At one point I had that little phone-controlled BB-8, right when The Force Awakens came out. That was the big-ass deal. And other than the dice in the car, the only other memorabilia that I keep on display is the mug from opening night, which I did choke up at a little bit because I'm an emotional weepy baby at movies now, which has been one of the fun things about growing up. Very few, that's one of them. And now, from a film retrospective standpoint, here are my quick reviews of all of these so far mainline Star Wars movies. The first one, of course, untouchable, classic, Seven Samurai, what have you, started a whole genre, inspired generations and billions, so, it's okay. It's sort of untouchable, except for the whole, you can write this shit, George, but you sure as hell can't say it, angle, which of course doesn't really get better until Empire Strikes Back. What a twist! Whole generations scarred for life, bringing us very nicely into Jedi. My stepdad has this perspective that there's only really 2.5 Star Wars movies because he grew up with them. And I'll give him that only in this is the one where it starts to become a little more prevalent that this is more aimed at kids sometimes. Which is fine. Myth making and story building and imagination has to come from somewhere, especially if it's something contentious. That's inspirational in its own way. So if you want an idea why Star Wars has lasted as long as it has, which brings us right to the prequels, which I think is most succinctly said by Rian Johnson, the director of The Last Jedi, when he was asked to defend the prequel trilogy, or say something nice about it. And his response was that George Lucas created a 7+ hour series of children's films about how loss and grief or power can corrupt people, while spearheading every major technological change in filmmaking for the next 20 years. And they gave us some kick-ass lightsaber fights, and some bad motherfucking laser swords. The Force Awakens was delightful as hell, and I think that's what people really wanted from Star Wars at that point. Something that wasn't just wholly disappointing, but just something fun, light. I don't hate The Last Jedi. It has more of a vibe in common with the pace and the tone of the prequel films, honestly. But I feel like maybe the movie was talking too down to the audience like they were children, and at times the pacing was rough. But I tend to forgive it based on the strength of one shot. Sometimes that's what does it for me, is just the one perfect shot. And it's like, okay, this whole trip was worth it for that. The Rise of Skywalker sort of felt like eating an onion blossom. The individual pieces are delicious and fulfilling and juicy. And when you're done, you realize, oh crap, I just ate 4,800 calories in one sitting. Rogue One is this dark, beautiful little tragedy that runs way too fast in the first third and doesn't give their female hero the agency they think they're giving her. And I liked Solo enough. I just kind of wish that they had kept Phil Lord and Chris Miller on it, because I wanted it to be like this weird ass other thing that still existed in the main universe, and they were the guys that could have pulled it off. And Donald Glover is a perfect Lando. Happy Star Wars Day, my young Padawans. Ask your mother. And then bam, it's later. So those of you who followed me onto here from Facebook mostly know what my favorite movie of all time is.
Dude, this thing claims I have mail.
And I'm not going to harp on about the movie any more than I already have. You know, it's well documented how much of a nerd boner I have for it. It's just gorgeous, and it's technically one of the most perfect things I've ever seen. Like, you can watch it and not even really like Scott Pilgrim as a character, which is fine, because sometimes Michael Cera's like, but everything around him. Anyway, I'm doing what I said I wouldn't do. I brought it up because the movie didn't really have a good opening weekend, or whatever, when it was released. I had to wait 5 days for people. So as an anniversary thing, which was supposed to be last year but plague, they did a Dolby Atmos remastered version of it, only for a week. And I sort of ignored my work schedule and went and had my normal Sunday. Sometimes a little rebellion is fun. So I went to see that, knowing I would probably be giggling to myself the entire time. And to the point I made when I was in the cloak earlier, about kind of being a lot more emotionally affected by movies as I grow up, and I think that's one of the few fun things that I have found about growing up. Kind of like being aware of your own emotional maturity. Like, especially when you go back and watch old stuff and how it hits you different. And I enjoyed myself fully because the whole thing was about the sound. And I've listened to this movie a lot, so I knew where a lot of the sounds were. I still heard new shit. And as much as I loved it, having only seen it in the theater one time ever, I wanted to see it in the theater again. Because it's sort of a musical too. It's sort of like a rock opera musical. It's all these weird little mishmash. But I'm doing it again. The thing that surprised me was not just, that I was laughing and chuckling even knowing the beats, but there were points when I was just kind of openly weeping with just joy at how good it was, the presentation, and knowing like it was a 1 week thing. I'm never going to see it in a theater again probably, and if I do, never that good. It made me happy. It made me happy. Yeah, that's all. I don't have an ending. I just going to end on this. It made me happy.